The Glass Abyss by Steve Barnes comes out on October 15th. It's a book about Mace Windu that takes place immediately after the events of The Phantom Menace. Qui-Gon Jinn apparently left a message for Mace in the event of his death, offering him a mission and a challenge to help save an oppressed world. I got to read it a little early, so here's my spoiler-free review. The short version is, I really struggled with this book. Unfortunately, I just never connected to anything or anyone in it. The writing style kind of matches who Mace Windu is in the sense that it's very clinical and detached. It's also almost entirely written from his point of view. I prefer Star Wars books that have a larger cast of characters that we get to bounce between, and I like when stories travel to multiple planets like an Indiana Jones story. 95% of The Glass Abyss takes place on a new planet called Metagos, and again, I never connected to the people or plight of that world. Everything going on there is very complicated, from the geography to the societal structure to the flora and fauna. I generally appreciate when Star Wars tries something really new and weird. I love the Dr. Aphra comics for that because every arc would take a big swing. They wouldn't all be home runs, but at least we were seeing something new. I think Barnes took a big swing with Metagos, and it just didn't land for me. I think it's simply because he likes different things about Star Wars than I do. He seems to lean more into the science fiction side of things, and I prefer my Star Wars to lean more into the pulpy space fantasy genre. A great example of that is a major character who is a holodroid similar to Proxy from The Force Unleashed. That's a concept that I fully accept in Star Wars, but I personally feel like it would fit better in a more science fiction setting. And obviously Star Wars has deep science fiction roots with stories like Dune, and I think Metagos takes a lot of inspiration from the work of Frank Herbert. All that said, even if Barnes seems more excited by stuff like holodroids than I am, he does put those elements to good use. I do enjoy that character. The book starts out like a good undercover detective noir story with Mace making contacts in the criminal underworld, and the holodroid is a very fun take on the femme fatale trope. A lot of the concepts of this book interest me, and the situations Mace finds himself in are good and tense. There's a bit of a cat and mouse game where he can't reveal himself as a Jedi, but the villains suspect there is a Jedi among them, and that was fun. I wish the book did a little more with that. And by the way, talking about big swings, the primary villain of the book is weird. Chulok is a new species called a Ferokai. Well, technically, Chew is a Ferokai, an alien that can physically and mentally bond with others, and Locke is a Rodian. Chew bonded with Locke, and the two became a two-headed, four-armed, four-legged, very strong being named Chulok. Once again, fairly interesting concept, but it just felt too weird, even for me. As for Mace Windu himself, in some ways I think he was very much in line with his usual characterization in both canon and Legends. Barnes wrote the Legends novel The Cestus Deception, and he does make a few fun Legends connections, bringing them into canon, but in some ways, Mace didn't feel like Mace to me at all. Now I'm going to be delicate with spoilers, but there were some things he did that didn't sit right with me. Windu created Vapad, a lightsaber form that touches the dark side without giving into it, and that's brought up in the book, but things happen in The Glass Abyss that I felt went a little too far for a Jedi, and there are some personal developments for Mace that felt very significant, as in this could potentially change the course of Mace's entire life. But when you look at him from The Phantom Menace to Attack of the Clones, he seems like the exact same guy. It's been 3 years, and he definitely seems like the kind of guy that would bottle up some very strong emotions, but for me, this book version of Mace feels disconnected from who we see in the prequels and the Clone Wars. So yeah, unfortunately, The Glass Abyss did not connect with me. It just isn't what I look for in a Star Wars story at all. But I do think there are fans out there who will really enjoy this. If you prefer your Star Wars to lean more into science fiction than space fantasy, I think you might enjoy the planet Metagos quite a bit. Honestly, if you love the Dune books and their complexity and the story of an outsider learning a very strange but new side of spirituality, I think there's a good chance you'll enjoy The Glass Abyss. I thought about Dune a lot while reading this, and in full transparency, I struggled to read Dune too. It just wasn't my cup of tea, and I connected way more with the movies. So if you love that kind of story, The Glass Abyss might be right up your alley. But that's all I've got for today. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on our socials, and consider checking out our Patreon page, where we will hold a book club for The Glass Abyss probably in November, and I'm looking forward to hearing some different opinions. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.